Very good. Well, welcome to the February 22nd West Perth Council meeting. Just before we call this meeting to order, I would ask that we take a moment of reflection just before we start our meeting. So a moment of reflection, please. Very good. Thank you. All right, the first item then is confirmation of the agenda. Excuse me, confirmation of the agenda. Do we have a motion to confirm the agenda as it was circulated? Got a tickle in my throat here. Moved by Councillor Tam and seconded by Councillor Marshall. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. Does anybody have a conflict of interest? And Councillor Murray has a conflict of interest. Now, I think I know what your conflict is. But
I have declared it to Carla. I have filled out the form. I have a conflict with 13.
Oh, you just muted, Anna Marie.
I have a conflict with 13.1.
Okay, what about correspondence?
I can have a conflict there if you like.
Okay, I think they're very similar, so.
Yes, okay, yep.
So you have the two items for conflict.
Yep.
Anyone else have a conflict of interest with anything? Okay, thank you. The consent agenda is there. There is 21 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything there that anybody would like clarified or pulled and dealt separately with? Okay, hands going up all over the place. Let's start on my screen. I'm going to start from left to right. So Councillor Murray.
Yes, just a couple of things. I'm wondering if we should be supporting the County of Perth in their letter. And I'm also wondering about the Gravenhurst letter or motion. I'm wondering what Chief Hunter thinks, if we should be supporting Gravenhurst in what they're asking.
Okay. And
that's all.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Matheson, you had your hand up. You're muted. I can't hear you, Cheryl. Oh. Can anybody hear Cheryl? Can't.
Now?
There you go.
All right. I was just going to say the same as I think it's 4.5, 4.7, 4.12, and 4.15. They're all concerning the fire college. If we could show support for that.
Okay. And Councillor Tomkowski had his hand up too.
Yes, Your Worship. 4.2. The letter from the county to the province regarding the current value assessments in the county. I wanted to get some further clarification or discussion on what's being asked for and why that's significant.
Okay. The ones with regards to Gravenhurst, and we have, I think, really three people wanting to endorse that. There's three resolutions in our consent agenda: 4.5, 4.7, and the other one is 4.12. And I guess it really doesn't matter which one we support. I'll ask Chief Hunter to come online and speak to it. The only reason that I'm a little reluctant to support 4.5, the Gravenhurst one, and that's exactly where the fire college is, but their last paragraph says, and if it is closed, we want to have the regional fire training school in their municipality or there. So the other ones don't talk about, they just talk about trying to save the fire college. So I'm going to ask Chief Hunter for his input on this, and we can maybe get some information there.
Sure, thank you very much. I've been in numerous conversations over the last month with the fire marshal and with the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs the fire marshal has fairly clearly stated that the closure of the college is a done deal, and that it was made at a level higher than him. I tend to agree. I don't. I think that the decision was made, and that regardless of the number of letters that are sent in, the government's probably going to close it at the end of this month. I do like the portion of the letter from Gravenhurst where they're requesting that it be turned into a regional training center. The big thing about the fire college is the facility itself. And if there was a way that somebody could keep it active as a fire training facility, I think that that would be fantastic. If whether it's the Gravenhurst Fire Department or the town of Gravenhurst. So I would certainly recommend supporting the letter from Gravenhurst. The other two, there are some different issues out there. I wouldn't want to say support them like 100%. There's some statements that probably should be clarified a bit further. If council is interested, I could prepare a short report and a letter for our next council meeting if council would like to send one of their own rather than supporting the other two.
Okay. What's the wishes of council? Somebody just speak up if you wish.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay.
I agree.
So just to recap, Bill, would you like us to support the Gravenhurst one as well?
I do, simply because it does have that additional statement about keeping it as a regional training center.
Okay, so we can do that. And then the other two, we just accept them as in the consent agenda. Okay, so at this point then we could have a motion. I guess we could do it two things in one motion if you want. We can support the Gravenhurst resolution and respond to that one the way it's supposed to be, and then we'll ask Chief Hunter to come back at the next meeting with our own resolution to forward on. Does that sound like a good thing to do here? I see some nods, so all I need is somebody to move this now. Councillor Matheson and Councillor Tam, and it'll be a double motion type of thing. Cheryl and Mike, you're okay with that? Okay, is any further discussion? Anybody have any further comments on that? Okay, so we'll deal with that one right now. We'll support that one. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. And I'm going to back up to Dean's question about regarding the negative impacts of current value assessment in Perth County. And I'm not sure, Doug, do you want to take a stab at this, or I could even maybe ask Jeff to explain it a little better than probably what I.
Jeff maybe has a better idea. I just know that it's saying that the farmers have been pushed, and now the housing is going to take a huge jump, as everybody here knows, and then the farmland will remain stagnant, and the housing, when we're selling houses here for 600,000, but MPAC isn't going to do reclassifications because of COVID. So
the reassessment, is my understanding, was done 2 years ago. Jeff's going to come in here.
I'll take a bit of a stab at it, and I apologize. I'm not fully prepared, but I can say that there was a 4-year cycle of reassessments that was focusing on phasing in agricultural assessment, and we finished that 4 years in 2016, and then the next cycle would have been obviously reflecting the significant change in residential values, because they're happening at different times, and the effect of the two reassessments happening one after the other, as opposed to every year getting the information, is that you get a bit of a pendulum swing the one way towards agricultural, and then the residential is going to catch up and it'll swing back the other way. And so the complication that we've run into is that it was a 4-year phase in, but because of COVID, the province delayed the beginning of reassessment to bring residential on. So it actually ends up being a 5 years. So we're having an extra year of agriculture, probably having a bit of a disproportionate share overall, because the higher agricultural land values have been built into our assessment, and the residential ones will be coming next. And I believe that's the complication, that they're cycling from one to the other. Does that add to the experience you're looking for, Mayor?
I think, it helps, but my understanding what the county wants them to do is implement it sooner rather than later, so that it kicks in sooner as opposed to later.
Yeah, and I mean, ideally, they would, and perhaps Terry can help me with why. I believe they focused on getting agricultural reassessment done, and now they're going to move to residential, because I don't think they're doing them at the same time. So Terry, I'll ask you to deal with that one just in a second. But the first thing I want to say that I think the real sort of sore point at this point is the 1-year delay for COVID, which means that the imbalance that we all know is there. When we look at the current real estate market, the agricultural land property values changed from 2007 until about 2017 and leveled out. That's been built into the model. And here we are in 2020 at the end, or 21, after the 4-year phase in, and we're actually holding for an additional year that wasn't anticipated. And that hold for the additional year is meaning there's that inequity for 1 extra year. Terry.
I can get in touch with MPAC to find out what exactly their cycle is on when they're going to be doing housing, residential versus agriculture and so on. I know that because of COVID, they are starting to get back out and doing some reassessments. They are doing it. So I'm going to be bringing a report to council when we do the budget too, on our assessment and where we're at in West Perth and where our growth dollars have come from and so on, and how it affects us. And so you'll see all that at our first budget meeting also. But I can get some more information from MPAC on their timing of their reassessments.
Okay, the other option, if you wanted, you could maybe get a hold of, and Carla could do this too, I guess, and get a hold of Lori Wolf, because she's going to be the author of this letter, and could probably fill you in on what it is about. So I don't know if we've answered your question, Dean. We've kind of skirted around it.
I just wanted to get it out on the floor, because my concern or my observation would be that at some point, once the impact assessments get caught up to where they should be, there's going to be some kind of what I would call a quote unquote sticker shock on property owners. And it looks like the sticker shock will be on the residential owners when their new assessments are coming in. And their tax bill will reflect that accordingly. That was the reason, one of the reasons I brought it up, to find out who's going to be impacted the most, and when, and how does that affect the municipality's ability to draw the property taxes.
So I guess your sense of what's going on here is correct. And what the county, as I kind of indicated at the start, the county wants to implement it sooner than later to get the residential back to where it probably should be, so that some of the onus comes off of the agricultural. What would you like done with this resolution, Dean? Do you want us to leave it or do you want us to pull it and verify it at our next meeting?
Your worship, if we could pull it and clarify it at the next meeting, I would appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Carla, do we need a motion to, just to pull that one and then have it come back?
No, we can just seek that as direction and I'll just put that back on the next agenda or with the staff report.
All right, so.
Thank you.
No problem, Dean. So we have dealt with 4.5 and we're going to support that. We're going to pull 4.2, but other than that, a motion to approve the consent agenda would be in order. I think I'm understanding that right. We need a mover, Councillor Bell, and a seconder. Councillor Rose, any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to delegations. And we do have a delegation here tonight. Haven't seen them yet. Oh, here they come. Okay, I think we have Templeman, Kevin Nicholson, and I'm looking,
Jacqueline.
but I don't see her.
She's beside online.
Oh, there's Jacqueline. Okay, good, good. Okay. Yeah, you're not all together. Well, now you are. Before you weren't. On my screen, you're together. So you're all in one group. So I will turn it over to you. Kane, I don't know if you're the spokesman for this group or not. Whoever wants to be the spokesman, you can just take it away.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the West Perth Council. Thank you for the opportunity to bring this proposal in front of you tonight on behalf of the Mitchell Minor Hockey Executive. I am Kane Templeman, Vice President, Mitchell Minor Hockey. With me tonight, as mentioned, is Jacqueline Dietz, the Mitchell Minor Hockey COVID-19 Communications Officer, and Kevin Nicholson, a Director on the board with Mitchell Minor Hockey. Mitchell Minor Hockey represents 281 registrants for the 2020-2021 season. These registrants range in age from 5 to 18. As an organization, Mitchell Minor Hockey works hard to ensure there's opportunities for the youth in the community to have a place to play hockey, regardless of skill set. We offer travel, house league development, all sorts of different offerings to the community. The Mitchell Minor Hockey Executive is made up of a group of elected volunteers who provide a lot of time and energy to make sure this community has the ability and the resources to provide opportunity to hockey to our youth. I do hope you all had a chance to review our proposal. I'll walk through it a little bit and for certain, and then we'll try and leave some time at the end for questions. Some clarifications with the proposal I wanted to make sure we were clear with and got in front of everybody. Mitchell Minor Hockey 2020-2021 season has not been canceled. We are looking to resume our on-ice activities, and to do so, we need ice available in the Mitchell or Moncton arena. Communication with our members has been evident in this throughout the lockdown and moving into open up of the province. We had clear messaging December 21st, January 15th, January 21st, and February 14th, indicating we were looking to return to play and get the kids back on the ice. As I mentioned, our minor hockey registration is active. All documents, any year, there's a lot of documents and requirements to get kids on the ice. Living this through a pandemic, of course, that's escalated. So the Mitchell Minor Hockey Executive worked very hard through the summer months to get return to play documents and approvals in process. This included approvals from WAA, OWHA, OMHA. As well, our registration takes place in the fall, so in 2020. And at that time, it's indicated that our home arenas are Mitchell and Moncton. We also review that at time of after registration when the kids are on the ice through our travel letter. Again, just because we need more than one home arena to deliver our product. So again, all insurance and approvals are based on these home approvals. the home arena of Mitchell or Moncton Ice. And that's why we're seeking the proposal ahead for Mitchell Ice. I wanted to briefly talk about how we got here, and this is outlined in the proposal. Prior to the lockdown opening, there was a request to Mayor McKenzie on behalf of Mitchell Minor Hockey to reinstall the ice. At the time of the discussion, Mayor McKenzie replied that it would be beneficial to wait to see where we opened up and what color and region on the COVID scale. The following, on February 12th, here in Perth opened up in the orange region, essentially the exact same region we closed in prior to Christmas, and the same restrictions in place. At this point, there was more discussion with Mayor McKenzie and myself on behalf of the board. He indicated he had polled the councillors to see interest in reinstalling the ice. That conversation, he indicated, led to many councillors indicating that their heart was with putting it in, but they were concerned with the business side or the risks associated with putting the ice back in. Prior to that emailed response from the mayor, Mitchell Minor Hockey asked about a proposal on if they could share risk or risk associated with the cost of the ice being reinstalled. At this, Mayor McKenzie advised myself that discussion should happen with Darcy Cook, the Recreation and Facilities Manager. And that discussion did happen that same day. And under the recommendation of the discussion with Darcy Cook was that if Mitchell Minor Hockey was looking to share risk or take on some risk of the cost of the ice being reinstalled, that would need to take a proposal to the council, which is why we're here tonight. So we followed that guideline. I did reply to both the mayor and Darcy, indicating that was what we had, and we had approval from the board to share some of the risk of the cost of the ice going back into the arena. After that email, Mayor McKenzie did forward me my request to the clerk and assisted in setting up tonight's agenda to get on it. So appreciate that. A couple other discussions we've had, both from councillors and the community since the proposal was put together, was the concern of summer ice and the ask for summer ice. We want to make sure it's clear we're not asking for summer ice. Being February right now in March, our request is for ice during times where traditionally hockey is offered from the West Perth Arena to Mitchell Minor Hockey. And in good faith, I think it's important to note that we do sign a contract, an ice pad contract with the community to rent the ice, and under the understanding that the ice goes in typically at Labor Day following the fair and comes out at the end of March. In the request, you can see we have asked for 6 weeks of time. So that does go into April, and again, and making up for some of the time we have missed. I think it's important to note just looking at the weather facts from April to September, the 3 weeks in April versus the 3 weeks in September, we have a pretty consistent 10-degree drop in the highs and the lows in April as opposed to September. So we're certainly optimistic that weather can be handled in the April ice compared to September ice. We also wanted to make sure it was clear, and it's outlined in the proposal, that Mitchell Minor Hockey did not have input on the taking out of the ice as a major user. That was disappointing. However, it was strictly communicated to us that the ice was coming out of the Mitchell Arena. Another brief discussion I just wanted to get in front of quickly is from the Huron East camp and indications that the lobbies were under renovations. I wanted to be clear that the lobby is not essential for us to go back to Mitchell Minor Hockey to resume on ice activities. The lobby essentially has only been a purpose to get from the outside to the stands, and with alternative routes and everything else, whatever renovations are going on in the lobby would not impact our return to play from Mitchell Minor Hockey. Around the proposal, I want to make sure those outside the hockey loop understand many communities in the region who are supporting their youth and their communities. Some centers significantly bigger than Mitchell and Mitchell Minor Hockey, but some significantly smaller. Local arenas, Exeter, Bayfield, Listowel, Stratford, Howick, Ripley, Embro, Tavistock, Hairston, all have worked with their community to get their kids back on the ice and resume play. And that's what we're asking here today. I think it's important to compare Mitchell Minor Hockey to other centers in the region on a size basis. So WAA, the place where our boys take place in their season, the Western Ontario Athletic Association. Regarding size, these boys teams are classified by the amount of registrants. Now, Mitchell Minor Hockey continues to work hard to grow the game and to grow the opportunity for the youth to be in. And that has got us into a B classification, which is the highest classification based on registration in Western Ontario Athletic Association. And we want to make sure it's clear that there is 4 of these category B teams in Western Ontario Athletic Association: Kincardine, Saugeen Shores, Mitchell Minor Hockey, and Listowel Minor Hockey. And I think it's important to note that all 3, Kincardine, Listowel, and Saugeen Shores, have resumed on-ice activity, while Mitchell, the lone exception of a B center, has not. So I wanted to make sure that was all clear and in front of you. In regards to the feedback from West Perth outlined in the page on the proposal, it was very clear in the mayor's letter back. 4 major things were brought to the attention of Mitchell Minor Hockey in concerns to reinstalling the ice. A $5,000 estimate of a cost from Darcy Cook to reinstall, the cost of actually reinstalling the ice. Cost of hydro in February of $20,000, which of course was an estimate. A cost of hydro in March for $30,000, and a concern of a 3rd wave of COVID-19. When that was brought back to Mitchell Minor Hockey in discussion with Darcy Cook, the recreation and facilities manager, it was asked if hydro and labor and such expenses would have been budgeted in the municipal budget, assuming an active ice rental agreement was in place from Labor Day to the end of March. And it was confirmed that those were budgeted expenses for the cost of running the arena. So at that, I think it's important we separate the costs of running, a budgeted running of the arena versus the cost of reinstalling the ice. And as the proposal outlines, the actual cost being an estimate of $5,000, Mitchell Minor Hockey has considered to put that proposal forward, that they would cover that cost, of course, ensuring we had some hard receipts and some indication that the information is accurate, that the cost would be that. I mean, here in East indicated $2,500 to reinstall their ice. So the range of $2,500 to $5,000 being the range we were looking at. When we took a look as a board at the proposal to take that risk away from the municipality and stop that being a roadblock to getting almost 300 kids back on the ice, we looked at it as a breakdown of $17.79 per player, a one-time cost to get them back on the ice. And the board assumed that cost was well worth the while to get the youth back out there. We took that calculation a little further, and that calculation then at an assumed even a minimum of 9 ice times, as the proposal outlines, that's less than $2 per kid per ice time, which again kind of puts it in scope of the importance of getting that out of the way as a roadblock. So again, we are requesting the ice be reinstalled in the Mitchell Arena because our active membership, which our registration for the 2020-2021 season, has not been canceled. We are looking to resume to deliver the product as outlined in our registration in the fall of 2020. With that, we are asking for 30 hours of prime ice time a week for 6 weeks, moving into April and beginning as soon as possible. Yeah, that's essentially the rest of the parameters are outlined in the proposal. I think now I'll give Jacqueline a brief chance to update us on COVID-19 and her role in here in Perth Health and Mitchell Minor Hockey.
So I'm Jacqueline Dietz, and as Kane said, I'm a member of the Mitchell Minor Hockey Executive, and I work as a public health nurse at Huron Perth Public Health. From a public health perspective, there really is no reason why hockey cannot be safely resumed in West Perth. Mitchell Minor Hockey has successfully offered hockey in Mitchell for the past 3 months. All COVID-19 safety protocols were communicated to the participants and the parents and were implemented and followed. The return to play submitted also ensured that all COVID guidelines were followed and included all relevant local health components. When the color system was implemented, Mitchell Minor Hockey shifted and ensured we were always ready to anticipate changes that would be made to meet the next safety guideline. Every team had a designated COVID rep who would, in players and parents symptom assessment at every hockey event. And then this rep also documented the attendance each ice time and uploaded it to where we stored them electronically for 1 month in case they were needed for contact tracing. If we continue to follow the public health guidelines of hands, stay home if you have any symptoms, social distance in the dress, follow the guidelines of the number of players that can be on the ice, and wear masks when not actively participating in on-ice activities, we can successfully return the kids to the ice and get back to playing hockey. Kids' physical health need to be able to live in a controlled environment where they're safe. We're living in a pandemic where there's risk in anything that we do. Offer hockey in a safe way, mitigate the risk, and keep our kids mentally and physically safe. It's been almost a year of COVID. We're all tired. And what we've learned in public health over this time is that COVID is something that we can control by having the proper measures and the proper protocols in place. Mitchell Minor Hockey will continue to follow all public health guidelines, and we hope that the council will understand that we've worked hard on this to do our part to stop the spread of COVID-19 in our community, and that we will ensure that we continue to do this should you do the ice back in and allow the kids to get back to playing hockey.
Okay, thanks, Jacqueline. Kevin,
I'm just going to wrap up, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yep. So you go ahead.
Yep, thank you. So just to reinstate, Mitchell Minor Hockey is requesting the ice be reinstalled to one of our home arenas. I've listed the ramifications of why we need a home arena, being return to play documents, insurance, active registration with our 281 members. We are operating under an existing season, and we have not canceled that season. As Jacqueline indicated, right, COVID-19 the pandemic has affected many people in many ways, and our youth have not been forgotten in that. And I think the proposal put before you guys here today indicates that that would be an alternative that would quickly improve almost 300 of our community youth, which is a pretty astounding number when you think how much one decision can impact. I think it's important we separate out the budgeted costs that were set aside. And I think we've done that. And I think it's important to understand that Mitchell Minor Hockey is committed to helping with some hard, obviously, details on the reinstallation cost of the ice, but to get that stepped aside so we can move forward with offering our youth. We do appreciate, on behalf of Mitchell Minor Hockey, the opportunity to present to you tonight and the consideration. If there is questions, Mayor, please advise what our next steps. Thank you.
Okay, and if you just hang on here for a second, we've kind of ran over a little bit, and I think we're probably going to lose Darcy if we need him. But at this time, I'll ask if there's any questions for council, and then we may have to go from there. I see Councillor Tam's hand up.
I have 4 comments and concerns, I guess. Rainette sent out a memo January 13th that the ice was removed for the remainder of the season from the president. Hockey sent one out January 15th that said once all the facts were known, they would decide how the remainder of the season would look, even though they knew the ice was not going to return. And that was not from the president. Hockey coaches and parents have not been surveyed to gauge interest. 20 hours of prime time ice was offered in Seaforth 1 week ago and was declined. And I've heard from more people that understand the situation and simply want refunds than people that want to return to the ice. So I think the 281 number is not accurate.
Can I respond, Mayor, or?
Go ahead. I was just waiting to see if Mike was asking more than that at this time, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and I can make sure he's on. In respect to the messaging of Ringette, right? I think that's outside Mitchell Minor Hockey's realm. I think if you look back at our communication, Councillor Tam, we continued all the way through being clear that our season was not canceled and that we were pursuing options. At this point, based on what I've discussed, return to play documents as well as insurance and our registration, which is active. we have addressed the fact that home ice would be required to go in. So we did not communicate that it was closed, and we cannot control Ringette's opinion on how they're managing their business. When it comes to a survey, again, I think we look back to we have not canceled the season. We posted 4 times that we were continuing to assess return to play, and we did not have significant feedback that we were not on the right path. When it comes to a survey, we did not feel it necessary to poll because we're within the registration terms that we sent out in the fall of 2020. Again, a traditional ice hockey season runs Labor Day as soon as the ice is into the end of March. And now we are asking to extend to April. I did check some hard facts with our president on requests to opt out of registration. And I can confirm that's less than 3% at this point. That have officially requested not return to play. So that's a hard number. It is less than 3% at this time. As far as the Seaforth proposal, I think it needs to be clear. One, I've outlined the importance of having us resume our season on home ice, and the work and the documentation and the registration all indicates that Mitchell and Moncton are our home ice, and that under agreement, traditionally ice would be provided in Mitchell, and in good faith, we do enter a contract with them to provide ice for us to deliver our hockey season. The Seaforth proposal was actually up to 20 hours of ice and depended on the response from other users. It was no guarantee of 30 hours of prime ice. And again, it was not reflective of our current registration of 281, which is a hard number.
I'm going to interrupt you there. It was guaranteed 20 hours of ice with the option of probably more ice than that. So there was
I can dig out the email I did receive that said Mitchell Minor Hockey would have the opportunity of up to 20 hours of ice pending other user groups if preferred. I don't mind.
Well, I know it was 20 hours, and I'm not going to argue with it. Mike, you had some other comments?
That's fine for now.
Okay. Councillor Bell had her hand up.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions for clarifying. Just to say that I do sit on the Seaforth Seaforth Arena Board. So we met this week as well and reviewed, and I do know that I looked over the review that Dave Merriam placed, and he gave it to our board, and it did. And I'm looking right now at the Seaforth Minor Hockey's return to ice. I just have some questions I want to clarify because theirs is very different than yours. So I want you to clarify for me why Mitchell isn't able to do the same as BCH. So I want clarification. So I have a notice here. I have contacted BCH Minor Hockey, and they're looking to resume their on ice activities as well. So how is it, just out of curiosity, with their insurance versus yours, how is BCH able to go to Seaforth and committing, and we are unable to? Is there a difference in the insurance carriers, or?
Yeah, no, I don't believe there's a difference in the insurance carriers. Seaforth Minor Hockey and BCH Minor Hockey have worked together on various teams, and probably in their documents. And again, I'm speaking out of turn because I do not sit on Seaforth Minor Hockey executive or saw their documents. But they do work together with teams, and Seaforth players do play out of BCH on several respected teams. So I would assume, my assumption would be that they have listed Seaforth both in their insurance and return to play documents, as well as Bayfield, which they're activating out as well. So the option could be there, Councillor Bell.
That's what, just because I was confused as to why they're able to move from arena to arena, and
yeah, and again, I can't speak on their terms. That would be my assumption from the outside. They do share players on certain teams and have actually amalgamated at certain levels from a minor hockey perspective.
And so what does it take to move your insurance? Like, is it difficult? Is it like, I'm going to ask out of curiosity, is it like buying a car and you just move your house, so you let your insurance company know that you're in an accredited facility that's, not someone's backyard, you're actually going to an accredited facility? Can they not just move your address of your insurance?
Well, to tell you the truth, we've never had to move our insurance, and we never have. So we've always listed our home arenas. We have never provided the documentation we have like this year either in a pandemic for return to play documents. So insurance is one of the factors as discussed. The other thing in the fall, our members signed up for hockey programming in Mitchell Minor Hockey, and traditionally and every year that hockey has been offered out of a home rink of Mitchell and Moncton, and permitting health guidelines within Huron and Perth as well as provincial guidelines. That was indicated that we would continue on.
Okay, no, I just, because they are here and it is our same health unit. It is all the same, you know, and 100% respect Jacqueline's work. Her and I have chatted numerous times because I was the ringette COVID back to ice person, and I do know it is a lot of work. It's something we all have set in place so our kids can play. Another question that I have, because I'm not really comparing apples to apples. I'm just looking at one presentation versus another. As I look at this other presentation, I see that in Seaforth, they personally contacted and got written commitments from all the other ice users just to solidify their council, to help them really look at it in a point that, hey, we're not asking you just to put it back on just for hockey. We have spoken to the generals and to this and BC, and they did the research and they got the written commitment to really solidify it. Is there a reason why minor hockey didn't out and maybe solidify a little bit more to help council look at this more than just hockey?
Yeah, so I think in the proposal, Councillor Bell, it was outlined that other groups have reached out to us. We did not seek firm answers, and I'm not sure Seaforth either necessarily. Their proposal I did read online, some of it, but we have some outside groups that have asked about it and supported our ask. We did not go for a firm confirmation of hours for the arena.
Just out of curiosity, who will you play?
Well, I think first and foremost, we need the ice. We haven't exactly resolved as a group that we would play external centers or anything. We have the numbers that we could set up something in-house and certainly get kids both in skills development course, which we would do at the front end, and then an intramural and a 3-on-3 or certainly any type of hockey activity. We have the numbers that we can do that. And some centers did opt to do that this year. Hockey isn't just about games and skills and development, and playing with your friends and exercises are also very important parts.
Okay, Councillor Marshall had his hand up.
Actually, the question for Darcy. Darcy, have you had any other user groups that have reached out to you, shown any interest in the ice going back in?
I don't know if Darcy is available or not. Is he?
No.
Darcy had us another commitment, and he was going to be away from about 20 to 8 until about 10 after 8. So I don't see him on here.
Is he back?
Is he back?
He might have lost the connection.
We'll give him an opportunity. We'll try and see if Darcy's there, if he can find. But certainly.
Can you repeat your question, Jeff? It's just pretty laggy in and out. Sorry.
I was just asking Darcy if he'd had any other user groups that had reached out to see about ice time. So
while we're waiting, I do have a couple quick updates. One from our boys contact. So in order, one big requirement, Councillor Bell, for insurance is an ice contract. So we would need a firm ice contract in place. We also would need an application to OMHA, Ontario Minor Hockey Association, to get that insurance moved. So there is steps that would need to take place among the other I mentioned. The other point I wanted to make, just looking at this proposal from Darcy, it is indicated that the Seaforth Arena and him would give Mitchell up to 20 hours, could mostly, if not completely, be used by Mitchell Minor Hockey. So to clarify that, it was up to 20 hours, potentially, nothing firm.
Okay, Doug?
Further to what you were talking about, Jeff Marshall, sorry.
Come again, Doug, you were breaking up there. I couldn't hear.
Well, Jeff had put his hand up again and he was already on the floor.
Oh, And we may have to, like Jeff's one question, we may have to wait until later on when Darcy comes back to get that response. But you have another question, Jeff?
I did. It's a separate question, so it's something different. But the question's actually for the minor hockey folks.
There's Darcy.
You know, this is something that I dealt with when hockey was over, just dealing with how upset the kids were when I had to tell them that they weren't going back to play hockey at that point. You know, my concern as a parent and going through with this is getting started again and having to shut them down again in 2 weeks and having to tell them again. Have you guys talked about any way of dealing with that? If you've talked to any of the other parents around that situation?
Jacqueline, I'll maybe let you address this one as far as living with COVID, if that's fair.
Yeah, so I think that's the tricky part. If you look at school, if you look at activities, if you look at sports, is trying to not make too many plans too far in advance. We make decisions based on what we know today. And I hate to say that you don't push forward and try to do things because of all the what ifs that might happen. We know what we know right now, that we can offer hockey safely. We know that how things are currently here in Perth, that we're able to continue to be in the orange level and maybe even get moved into the next level. So you can't make decisions based on the what if scenarios. You need to make decisions based on what's in front of you right now. And what's in front of us right now is that we should be able to and go to school and do all the things that we've been told we can do in this.
Okay, Darcy. Darcy is there, and I'm not sure what he's heard and what he hasn't heard, but Jeff, if you want to ask your question to Darcy, I think he's capable of responding, but I'm not sure. Darcy, can you can hear us okay? He's muted.
I saw him talking as if he had heard us, so I'm going to assume he has. Darcy is just wondering if we'd had any other user groups that have reached out or shown any interest in getting back on the ice.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. No, at this point, no one else has reached out. I haven't reached out to anybody because the plan was that there was going to be no ice for the rest of the season. So I haven't reached out to anybody. I did hear through the grapevine the other minor sports were not interested, but that is not coming directly from them. But I have not had them reach out to show any interest.
Okay, thanks, Darcy. Doug, did you have a question?
I think Kevin Nicholson has a response or something.
Oh, okay.
I can speak to that. I talked to Jan Valentine, the ice scheduler for the Huron Perth Lakers the other day. They are currently looking for ice. I just wondered if they were looking at some if it happened to go in. I have no commitments or time commitments or anything like that, but that's an association that can't get enough time in Stratford. And there's other places. Even with the 3 rinks going in Stratford, they're still looking for ice there. So just a heads up on that one.
Okay, thanks, Taylor. Anybody else questions? Doug, you do have a question.
Well, I was the one who got lured in the last Tuesday night. I want to thank Walter, Darcy, and Jeff for going to Seaforth or Huron East and working all their long weekend to make a proposal for Mitchell to get at least 20 hours. I was the guy on the meeting from 10 to 10 till 10:30 on Tuesday night. And I was the guy who they said would give you 48 more hours to come to Seaforth. My boys used to practice in Hensel. We didn't have any affiliation. We had ice time there. So I want to thank the 3 of them for doing it. I'm disappointed that Mitchell Minor Sports didn't come with a better proposal for ringette, figure skating, and hockey. Just hockey coming here to me is just fractioned. If you come in strength, Seaforth had a great proposal. Sherry wrote it. I think Sherry will tell you that the sports people, when she had her meeting, thanked Walter, Jeff, and Darcy for the effort they put in. Now, you all know Kevin came to see me at the store 45 minutes. but I've had 15 other people come and say, don't put the ice back in. The Stratford jail closed today. All the people have to go because of a COVID outbreak. Now, the here in Perth, the health person here can tell you something like that is all we need to trigger a lockdown in Perth County, right? So I look at it from all aspects. I'm the guy who's going to lose the most here. No matter what, I'm getting an earful. I'm getting an earful from somebody. Probably right now, there's people on YouTube going, you know, getting an earful to Doug. I think we should have taken the Seaforth offer and maybe offered it to ringette or figure skating. But when you said no, not even a, well, maybe, it was a solid no. That meant to me, no flexibility on Mitchell Minor Hockey's part. That's just what it showed me. You could have said, hey, we can work with that. We had 2 extra days, but no, it was a solid no. I think Darcy gave you 2 more days. It was a solid no. So as solid no's go, I don't think we need to procrastinate out that much and see where the public opinion will be. But I'm going to let everybody else speak because I know Cheryl's got some and everybody's got something going on here.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Cheryl, you did have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions, actually. What is the total number of prime ice that we would have if we were to put the ice back in? If Darcy's still on here or something.
Question, I think, and I'm not sure if he's available.
I think he's gone again.
So yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, yep.
Go ahead, Darcy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
sorry, what was your question, Cheryl?
What's the total number of what would you would consider prime time ice that would be available in a week on a normal basis?
On a normal basis, we usually go at least 4 till 10, if not 4 till 11 on weekdays. So you got 6 hours a weekday and then 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. So 14 hours each weekend day. So 28 on the weekend and 30 on the week.
58.
58.
Okay. Yep. Thanks. That's all I was wondering.
Okay.
And I actually do have one more question. We talked about the cost of putting the ice in. What's the cost to take the ice out? Because it'll have to come out if we put it in.
Cost to take the ice out is a lot less. We can basically take it out with our machine, and then we just get a machine in for about $400 to actually remove the little last bit of the ice. So $500 would cover taking the ice out.
Okay, Cheryl. Anybody else? Question?
I'll just speak to the here in Perth piece. I'm a Perth person, Jacqueline. When there are outbreaks, there are going to be outbreaks. We're going to have into this pandemic, and we're going to have outbreaks for a few years of COVID-19. An outbreak is not going to shut things down. One outbreak is not going to put things into lockdown. The outbreaks are all mitigated individually. And if there were multiple outbreaks, then you may see that happen. But one outbreak does not shut down an entire region. And there's a lot of concern. We need to be aware of the new variants, that they're there. Potential risks do present stage in the pandemic. But if you keep health protocols that we have in place, the spread and the transmission and the cases and the outbreaks down. And eventually the variant of concern is going to be the COVID strain that we have in our, so that, public health will shut down if we have like one case or one week. There's truth to that statement.
Okay, thanks, Jacqueline. What I was trying to tell you is that you, at my end here, you're breaking up. We get the gist of what you're trying to say, but you're cutting in and out, and I'm not sure if that's our internet or your internet.
Well, we could have a conversation about how terrible rural internet is.
I know.
While I'm on this call.
Working on that one.
So I was just saying that things will not be shut down when there is one outbreak in one facility, period.
Okay, no, fair enough. Any other questions? Don't see anybody's hand. So my question to council is, do you want to deal with this immediately right now? We do have, actually, we do have quite a few other things coming up here. So I just need your wishes here. Do you want to deal with this situation right now? Okay, I see some nods. So at this time, I'm looking for a motion to direct staff what you want to do here. Councilor Marshall.
I'll move that we put the ice back in and work with it. I think it's important to get the kids playing hockey and back to normal. We've got enough issues with mental health and kids not getting enough physical activity. I think this isn't a perfect way to deal with it, but I think it could be a start.
Okay, you have a second for that? Dean, are you seconding the motion?
Yes, I would like to second Councillor Marshall's motion, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any further discussion on this? Nicholas?
Yeah, maybe it's not even just the.
I can't hear you, Nicholas.
Yeah,
Your volume is low.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's got to turn his volume up.
Turn your volume up if you can.
Okay, I turned my volume up. Can you hear me now?
Coming?
It's coming. We'll listen.
All right. I think the not just the benefit for the well-being of the children, the mental health, and the physical benefit, but the parents benefit as well too. That is just as much of a benefit that when we can see our kids play hockey or any sport, it brings that my anxiety or my well-being level up, anxiety down, and well-being up when I can see my kids have fun out there on the ice. I'll put that out there as well.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, it's been duly moved and seconded that we instruct staff to put the ice in, and that would be a call for Darcy. I'm guessing it would be a week before the ice would be in, week to 10 days probably. Anyways, all those in favor?
Sorry, are we clarifying how long it's going in for, or is that? Does he want to clarify that in his motion?
Well, do you want to, Jeff, do you want to clarify the length of time the ice is going in?
Sure, we'd say for 6 weeks. I think that's take us into the second week of April, but I think the second week of April, I think that's workable.
Okay, maybe you'll get a comment if Darcy's there to get a comment going into the second week of April, if we can. What's that? Anne Marie has a question. Sorry.
Yes.
I'll take your question first, I guess.
The cost of putting the ice in, should that be part of the motion?
Yes.
If they're going to contribute to the cost of putting the ice in?
That's part of their proposal, I guess. That would be the understanding, I would take it.
So if we put the ice in, they cover that cost, that specific cost of putting it in.
That was the $5,000 they talked about for putting the ice in. Darcy, you're not muted, I don't think, so I'm not sure if you can hear us or not, but
yeah, I can hear you.
All right, the motion that is on the floor is that we put the ice in for 6 weeks, in other words, to the second week in April. Comments?
My first comment would be I would want to make that weather dependent and machine dependent. Our building, as I've told a lot of people, isn't built for spring ice. It struggles a lot in September. We've had to cancel because of unsafe ice before, and as the weather heats up, snow melt on the roof can be an issue. I know they've had issues in the past trying to extend the season too far, so I don't recommend going too far into April. Again, if weather stayed cold, we wouldn't have any issues. So I don't recommend going too far into April, but if you want to say 6 weeks weather dependent, we can try.
Okay, thank you. Carla, have you got this motion kind of written out? Oh, there she is over there.
Yep. I just said that the moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor Trentowski, that the Council of Municipality of West Perth direct staff to, I have right now written put in, but we'll get better language, the ice back in for 6 weeks with Mitchell Minor Hockey contributing the $5,000 required to install the ice surface, dependent on weather and machine and weather dependent. So I can clean that up. I apologize. We were kind of piecing it together as we go, but the general resolution would be that the ice surface be put back in with Mitchell Minor Hockey contributing the $5,000, and that the 6 weeks be dependent on the weather.
Okay, no, I think.
Is that, Councilor Marshall, is that kind of what you were?
He seems satisfied. I think we've got the gist of the motion. Nicholas again.
If there's any cost overruns to the $5,000, could there be a savings spot in not painting the ice or painting the lines on the ice, Kane or Mitchell Minor Hockey?
Yeah, I think as outlined in the discussion, here on East, I believe was 2,500 was their estimate. So working within that range, I do not know all the details of theirs, Councillor Vink, but assuming paint and lines and some of that is certainly to be looked at. And we were looking at obviously with our members' money to be a cheap alternative with the ability to get on the ice for the kids, right?
Okay, so that what you're saying, it's
Can I
definitely.
jump in here for a second, Walter? I just wanted to note that, yeah, the 5,000 was a budget number. We have totally, I guess, summarized our ice plant. Like it's been totally shut down. Ammonia's been taken out. So I don't think Seaforth did that. So that could be the increase between us and Seaforth. And I did use it was actually 3,000 to 5,000 was the budget number I gave. 5,000 being on the high side. There is money saved that can be saved without needing to whitewash the ice. And I can speak to Mitchell Minor Hockey about that when we go to install. But I also do want to note just to council that it isn't staff's recommendation to put in the ice. As much I'm a rec guy, I would love to see the kids on the ice, but it's a very short turnaround. There's a lot of things that have to go into place, and it isn't staff's recommendation to put in the ice. But if we put in the ice, we'll do it as soon as possible, but it could take up to 10 days before we can get it in. Just because I got to get the refrigeration mechanic back, get the ammonia back in the system. So there's a lot that has to go in, but we can get it as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks, Darcy.
I just have a question.
Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I have a question for Minor Hockey. You have made a commitment for 30 hours of ice. Are you willing to pay for that full 30 hours, even if, say, only 100 of your kids come back and you don't need 30 hours? Or you've made a commitment in your presentation, am I correct, for 30 hours of ice?
Yeah, our request is for 30 hours of ice.
Like, let's say by some, I know you're very confident that all 281 of your kids will come back, but the reality is it's probably not. Even when you look at the BCH, they said they'll get 70. They polled their parents and said 70% are willing to come back. So let's say you get 50%. Are you still going to pay for the 30 hours that you're at?
We are committed to 30 hours for a 6-week window. BCH is different on the side that they did 3 registrations throughout the year. We did 1.
No, I'm just saying, like, even though they're committing, in the plan that that Seaforth that Darcy and Dave had worked on, I did see it. It was a very good plan. It was a very fair plan. BCH committed to 10 hours, I think, because they only got 70% full. So they committed for 10 hours at Seaforth at the time. So, and they weren't going to, as far as I know, take any hours in Bayfield because they weren't going to get enough. They wanted to come to Seaforth because they would have got more. But I just wanted to make sure financially, as everybody knows, you're not, if you by some miracle only have 150 kids show up, you're not going to back out on your paying for 30 hours.
Okay, I want to wrap this up if we can. So it's been duly moved and seconded. I don't think there's any further hands up for any questions. So all those in favor of the motion to put the ice in? Okay, I gotta do some counting here. So we have, just keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion is defeated. 6, sorry. Doug, you didn't have your hand up really high there. I could see it at the last. So the motion is defeated. Okay. So the motion is that the motion lost that we put ice in. So it's just, the ice will not be going back in. End of story, I guess. So thank you. I want to thank Kane and Kevin and Jacqueline for their presentation. It was a good presentation. No questions asked. And, it's just the way it is. So I do want to thank you for your input. Thanks very much.
And we do thank you for the appreciation of the time and consideration. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Kane. Good. Okay, moving on. Oh, Nicholas, sorry.
Kane mentioned some skills development. It now would be the possibility of using the dry pad to do some skill development coming up. Would that be an option that we could have them in there?
That is an option that Darcy, I think, is willing to look at. Jeff, do you want to?
Yeah, can I jump in there?
Go ahead, Darcy.
Yes. We are like, for us personally, we're looking at programming the ice pad, the dry ice pad, now that it's available, but we wanted to wait till the decision tonight to know which way we were going. Abby is already on it, so we think within the next week or two, we can have a plan in place to do some programming on it. And if I know Mitchell Minor Hockey has stated that their insurance probably wouldn't cover that, so it'll likely be more of a drop-in program for us to run it under our insurance and under our program. But I probably will have some more details in the coming days and have it in my report on March 1st.
Okay, thanks, Darcy. Okay, very good. And just as an aside, Darcy is a firefighter in Lucan, and he was getting fitted tonight with bunker. And so he has been busy trying to get bunker gear on and talk to us. So we appreciate him, staying in touch with us with his cell phone. Jeff.
I just did want to say that, despite this decision tonight, I want to thank Darcy and the recreation staff. They've done a great job while the arena was open, making sure everything was running. We have been as a municipality very progressive. We were one of the first ones getting the baseball going in the spring. We were one of the first to confirm we would be getting started with the arena in the fall. So Darcy and his team have done a great job, and I want to thank them for the effort they put into making it all happen up to this point. So,
and thanks, Jeff. So noted. Okay, I would like to kind of move on here. We've got a number of other items to deal with here tonight. So the next item on our agenda is under reports, and Adam Kozlowski, our senior planner on behalf of Perth County, is here to talk about an application for consent to sever for Morris and Michelle Wills. And I'm looking, and I don't see Adam on here.
I know he's been watching, Walter. Oh, there he is. Never mind.
He's coming. Oh, yeah, I see his name now. There he is. Okay, thanks, Adam. Sorry to keep you waiting. Okay, you've got the floor. So I mentioned that you're going to talk to us about an application for consent to sever for Morris and Michelle. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Yes. First of all, can everybody hear and see me okay?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Excellent. Your worship, members of council, thank you. Good to see everybody again. The application before us this evening is it's a severance application to create a new lot in the hamlet of Carlingford. And I'm going to share screen with everybody because I think it's easier to walk through the story here by looking at some of the severance sketches. Okay, can everybody see my cursor on the screen moving?
Yep, I can anyways, yep.
Okay, perfect. So for this application, I just wanted to start with some of the background on it and just to refresh council's memory of how we got to this point and how we're looking at this severance tonight. Back in 2020, the applicant made an application for an official plan amendment. And this was official plan amendment 192. And what 192 did was it was a settlement area swap. So this portion here that used to be designated as hamlet was redesignated to agriculture. And the land we're looking at tonight was agriculture, and it was redesignated to hamlet. And so what this official plan amendment did was create the policy framework to allow a severance in this location. This is the severance sketch that was actually forwarded with the official plan amendment. So they are showing a new lot on Perth line 26. They've sketched in a conceptual building envelope for a home, possible pool or other type of accessory structure, and the septic is at the rear of the property. There is a gap between the Skinner property and this proposed lot. This is the laneway that leads back to the Morris Farm drive shed back at the back of the property. And this strip was left open deliberately so that the Morrises would have continued access to their drive shed and not have to cross over the new lot boundaries. So this would eliminate the need for a right of way or anything like that. And so that's the reason for this strip here. And just a bit more detail here in this sketch. This was a site servicing sketch prepared by the agent for the consultant. So this just shows a bit more information with neighboring wells. So this is more of interest really when we're getting down to the site planning phase. We can see where wells are, neighboring properties. We can see some grading and drainage. We've got the full septic envelope here, which is the system, the bed, as well as the mantle. And it pretty much fills up the back part of the lot. It also shows neighboring well locations. And this is important when we're looking at the property for building permits in future, as well as the driveway access locations. So moving forward, the application tonight is basically, this is the lot that was considered as part of OPA 192. It was circulated for comment. We did receive a comment from the Conservation Authority. They have no concern. I got a phone call from Mrs. Skinner, who lives next door. That's at 5176 line 26. And she had raised concerns during the official plan amendment process that wanting assurance that there wouldn't be any grading or drainage problems or particularly impacts on the drainage of this new lot once it's developed. Staff have recommended that West Perth Council approve the application subject to a series of conditions that are outlined in the staff report. These conditions relate to rezoning the property to recognize slightly deficient area, as well as impose conditions that require a site grading and drainage plan and a development agreement at the time of building permit, as well as a scoped hydro-G study to be done once provisional approval is complete. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Any questions from any members of council? Deputy Mayor Knight?
Hey, Adam, how you doing, buddy? I always like to get right at you. So on your proposal, there's a large tile drain that comes in front of the Skinner house, I believe is what they want to know. Right through where your proposed well would be and across that property. So any drainage issues, I think Lori would like to know are going to be absorbed by the people who bought the lot. Because there is like a big drain. I'm not going to say it's a municipal drain. I'm not going to say anybody knows it's there, but it does exist. And that's why Greg and Lori, I kind of thought they might be on this call tonight as a participant or a watcher, and they're not. But I know they're going to ask. So you're saying that we'll pass it, but we'll make sure that that drain, known or unknown, will be relocated.
Through you, your worship, yes, you're absolutely right. And actually, Lori and I did have a really good conversation. She told me about the history of the property and that I guess there used to be a house there a number of years back. And she did explain to me that there was drainage problems on her property and that it was fixed and that the water was draining to the back of the lot, kind of into the back field. And Lori's concern was just that, once a house gets built here, if it's passed, we just don't want to see that work be undone. And there is a condition of consent included that they will have to do a engineered lock rating plan prior to issuing a building permit. So that guarantees assurance that we're not going to have any water issues.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead with the motion. There's 11 conditions there. Everybody has had the agenda for the weekend. Do I need to read all 11 conditions, or you have read them and you're agreeable that they're good? Okay, I see some nods. So what I'll do is I'll read the recommendation minus the 11 conditions. So the recommendation is that West Perth receive a report entitled Application for Consent to Sever New Residential Lot B5920 by Morris and Michelle Willows, affecting lands described as Lot 5, Concession 6, Fullerton Ward, Municipality of West Perth, 911, address 5178, line 26, dated February the 1st, prepared by the County Planning Department for information. And that Council of West Perth recommends that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the application for consent to sever the new residential lot B5920 made by Morris and Michelle Wills, Fullerton Ward, Municipality of West Perth, 5178, line 26, subject to the following conditions, and those 11 conditions are there. Do we have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Murray. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. And thanks, Adam.
Your worship, members of council, thank you very much and have a good evening.
Good. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to 6.2, Chief Building Officials report. And did see Bob. There he is. So we'll open it up and Bob, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Short report for the month of January. We had 3 single detached dwellings, 2 commercial offices, and an implement storage building for the monthly permits. Just over 1.5 million in construction value and 5 zoning certificates issued for the month.
Okay, any questions for Bob? Doug, go ahead.
Just Bob, we're right back fully open now for building permits, right? With the new orange we're in?
Yes, you're correct.
Mike?
Yeah, do I understand it right, Bob, that you guys were still processing permits if they came in, just not doing inspections? Like, I'm just asking, is that all the permits that came in, or were some not done because
there's a backlog of permits that we held because they weren't identified as essential projects.
Okay.
Single detached dwellings and things like that. Some of them were held back.
Okay, somewhere. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, anything else, Bob?
That's everything, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no further questions, we'll move on. And the next item then is the clerk's department, and we have a section 4 drain petition. So Carla?
Yes, thank you, members of council. So the first report, as Mayor McKenzie mentioned, was a section 4. So going in the same circulation of our 4 engineers, the recommendation for this request from a landowner, Bill Consett, is to install, for the property described as concession 10, east, part lot 28 and lot 27. So he's looking to replace a sinkhole that the landowners and neighbors are currently draining into via an old award drain. So some considerable work has been done to other neighboring properties to prepare for this section 4. And so I'm just looking for an appointment of Dietrich Engineering under section 4 of the Drainage Act.
Okay, thanks, Carla. So, question from Nicholas?
I'll move that.
Oh, okay. I was going to read the motion first, but Nicholas moves. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Anne Marie Murray. And the motion is that we appoint Dietrich Engineering under section 4 for the Drainage Act for a petition received by Bill Consett for property described as concession 10, lot 28 and 27 of the Hebert Ward. So it's been duly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. And the next one, Carla?
Okay, so this is a request under section 78. So we did receive a request from a landowner in the Hibbert ward, and coincidentally, we are just finishing, we meaning Dietrich Engineering is just finishing up a report on the Murphy Drain B. And this property, the request that this landowner is looking for actually would be a tag on to that current report that is nearing completion. And so in this case, we wouldn't be rotating our engineers. Instead, we would be adding it onto this current report. Just to note, as you know, through the drain process, they sent it all to neighboring landowners. This particular landowner did not live on at this property during the process, so there wouldn't have been an opportunity until this time. And so they're just looking for this current ditch to be filled in.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions? And I think it makes sense to appoint those engineers when they're already working on the drain. So the recommendation is that we appoint Dietrich Engineering under section 78 of the Drainage Act for requests for improvements to the Murphy Drainage Works for a property located at the west half of Lot 26, concession 3 of the Hibbert Ward. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Bell. We have a seconder, Nicholas. Thank you. So moved by Sherry, seconded by Nicholas. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. And the next one is some tender results.
Yes, in case everyone hasn't had enough drain talk this meeting. So these are the tender results for the branch A of the Apple Drain. And so we received a considerable amount, 7 bids in total, which is quite high for what we have traditionally seen for our tenders. And the recommendation is to award the construction of branch A of the Appel Drain to Robinson Farm Drainage in the amount of $66,300 plus HST.
Okay, questions for Carl on that? All right, the motion is that we award the construction of branch A of the Apple Drain. Is it Appel or Apple? Appel.
I call it Appel, but a lot of the landowners keep calling it Apple, so I just assumed that I was wrong.
Well, whatever. We'll call it Apple. To Robinson Farm Drainage in the amount of $66,300 plus HST. Mover and seconder for that one. Councillor Murray, Councillor Harold. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. And the general fees and charges bylaw, Carla?
Yes, so this is the traditional fees and charges bylaw that we review annually. This one's coming a little later than we normally review it, just based on we were waiting for some of the planning fees to kind of get finalized. And council would have been made aware of that for the agreement that an overall review of the planning fees were going to be completed. You'll note that in the bylaw section is what is the proposed fees, and just for simplicity, I included the 2020 fees. So there is a considerable increase, but this is based on the proposed is based on cost recovery that we're currently not achieving.
Okay. And a lot of that has to do with the new planning that we're doing, and that certainly expecting cost recovery in a lot of those applications.
Absolutely, and I think these would be fair to say that would be the actual in terms of staff time, etc. This would be an accurate cost recovery.
Right. Okay. Any questions with regards to that? All right. The motion is that we receive the report, general fees and charges bylaw, and the council adopt a general fees and charges bylaw as presented. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Wright, seconded by Councillor Marshall. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried.
Thank you.
Council reports. The first one is the West Perth Environmental Services. Cheryl?
Yeah. I'll actually speak to the 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3.
You can do that.
The first one is the manager's review, and the second one is the fourth quarter report. If anybody has any questions or concerns with that, I'd just like to mention, but I don't see anybody from the environmental on here, that I think our staff does a wonderful job on keeping us in compliance. So if anybody has any questions on those two reports. If not, the third one is the annual drinking water system report. And there's a recommendation to council to accept the report.
Okay, any questions on the annual report? Dean?
There we go. Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I wanted to back up into 7.2, the draft minutes for the committee meeting. Under new business, there's a situation identified regarding the Logan landfill. My only question at this time, through you, Your Worship, is when can council expect an update from staff on that situation? What's the timeline on further information in that regard?
Jeff, do you want to answer that one?
Perhaps it's something that might need a response from Mike Kramer.
So I'll just speak to it through you, Your Worship. We can commit to getting a response and getting it back, and perhaps Mike can include it in his next report. Councillor Trentowski, can you just remind me which I lost track of the number that you were saying?
It's on the agenda at 7.2, the draft minutes of the West Perth Environmental Services Committee. And specifically on the draft minutes, it's the information listed under section 5, new business, near the end of the draft minutes.
Yeah, I'll have to get Mike Kramer's assistant to get you that answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll get back to you on that one, Dean.
Okay, thank you.
I know that there has been some action on that, but just where we're at, I'm not sure. So we'll get that answer for you. So we were at the annual report. Where we looking?
Yeah, at the drinking water. I'll make the motion.
Okay, moved by Cheryl that we accept the 2020 annual report for the Mitchell drinking water system. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Harold, thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Just as an aside, we did the, I always get this word wrong, DWQMS, what, 2 weeks ago?
Last week.
Last week it was, and we got a perfect score, I think, didn't we, Cheryl?
Yes, we did.
So I think that speaks well to the staff in charge of the water department. And I think it was a traditional audit, so they go through everything, and yeah, I think it's a good report to have, and know that we're doing okay. Moving on then, Heritage and Culture Committee, Councillor Marshall, I think that one's yours.
Yes, that'd be me if I can just get to the right spot here. Yeah, this wasn't a very long meeting. We had just a quick kind of touch base. We've kind of got some stuff coming up, but I think the big issue on this for us is going forward is the signage and the what we want to do for some of the lost villages. Motherwell being probably the most current issue, I guess. But we have just had some discussions and talked to staff about doing some signage at these locations and these lost villages throughout West Perth to commemorate them and let folks know what the communities that were there and a little bit of information about them. So that's probably our biggest project that we're going to be going forward with, kind of on the heritage side. Hopefully we'll be working some more with the BIA. Hopefully we'll be looking at doing some outdoor concerts this summer, so we can support work with the BIA to make those happen. So I think that's about it for the for that report. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, some of that funding for the signs is through a red grant, was it not?
Mm-hmm. That's Carla. It was a grant that Carla got.
I think we've talked about that one for quite a few years, but there was some red funding for that, I think.
I think the funding that you're referring to, we have already spent with the community signs and the festive lights.
Okay, can't we spend it again?
We could try.
Okay, no, I knew we had some funding at one time for signage, so that's why I mentioned that. Okay, moving on then, Police Services Board, Councillor Harrell.
Yes, thanks. So the minutes are there. I'm sure everybody had a quick look at them. There wasn't a whole lot in there. It was out of the ordinary. I'll bring up a couple of points. One of the items in there was we've discussed we'd like to purchase another speed sign, provided it is mobile. That'll be a budget item that will get dealt with. And then we were also discussing the protocols that the Police Services Board follows. And just last week, we had training given by Dwayne Sprague, and that pretty much cleared up any questions we had on the protocols to follow. So that's all I have to report from that.
Good. Any questions for Steve? Councillor Trinkowski.
Through you, your worship, with regard to the purchase of a new speed sign, I had a query from a citizen asking if a speed sign could be installed on the north-south direction of Highway 23 through Bornholm. Is that something we can do on a provincial highway, or what's the process there to do that? Something other than an OPP radar trap.
Well, the sign would be mobile, so it certainly could be moved to wherever we required. There was one on Highway 8.
Yeah, the one that we've had is on a highway, so.
Yeah, so I don't see why we wouldn't be able to make that work somehow.
Oh, so I guess my question was, it doesn't sound like it's a jurisdictional conflict where we have the ability to place that sign in cooperation with the OPP when and where we think it's required then.
So I'll, through the mayor, there may be a bit of a jurisdictional conflict there. You may be onto something. The one we had on 8 was, I think, been in the connecting link, and I don't just know exactly where the connecting link ends, but it would be very close to where the sign was. So we certainly can pass that along to the operations manager about whether we have the ability. That the sign regulations for the provincial highway are pretty strict, and we may not actually be able to put a sign out in what's not our connecting link, but we can check into it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Certainly, I guess with response to Dean's question, there's we maybe have other ways of seeing if we could put a speed sign, and I think I know the area you're talking about, but maybe a speed sign on 23 somewhere. But we'll do some inquiries on that one. Next item then is a Sabo Bayfield, and that's Councillor Tam.
All right, you have the agenda in front of you from February 18th, last Thursday. At that meeting, we elected the chairperson, which was Doug Cook again, and the vice chair was Dave Jewett. And then there's 2 other sets of minutes from back in December. And we had a special meeting in January about a shoreline protection policy. Just an update or amendments to that policy, and there's a 30-day comment period on that public, which is we're in that 30 days right now. So if there's any questions, I try and answer them.
Any questions for Mike on Ensemble Bayfield? Okay, seeing none. Next item is Mitchell Business Improvement Area, and that would be Sherry.
Probably the only change I would make to the minutes is that since that meeting in January, we've changed our AGM. It's not going to be March 3rd, I think. It's going to be in April, first weekend in April. Our financials aren't ready, so we can't have our AGM without our financials. So we've just, we'll have a regular meeting this coming March, and we'll move our AGM to April. And I hope lots of you got to see our Shop Local campaign that we have going on. We're pretty hot and heavy right now, pushing pretty hard with the Shop Local. I don't know if anyone saw the concert, the Shop Local concert. And then every Friday we have a feature Friday. We have 5 little video clips that Dustin's been working on, featuring all our businesses and members. So
very good.
That's it, yeah.
No, the concert was very well done. I thought it was
it's
quite
fun.
well done.
Yeah, it's a good Shop Local campaign. It's just the beginning. We're just ramping up, so it's great.
Any questions for Sherry? Okay, seeing none. Do have a recommendation here that the Municipality of West Perth accepts the reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. Have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Vink and Councillor Tam. Any discussion on any of that? Last call. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Okay, we do have a few bylaws here. We have 4, as a matter of fact. First bylaw is a bylaw to revoke 89/2019, and that is the subdivision agreement with Blaze Properties. Bylaw number 14 is authorizing the execution of a subdivision agreement with Mitchell Woods in what used to be the Blaze Properties, right, Jeff? Yeah, so those two kind of go together. Bylaw 15 is a bylaw to establish the requirement payment of various fees and charges throughout the Municipality of West Perth, and Carla talked about that. And bylaw number 75 is a bylaw to provide for drainage works in the Municipality of West Perth on the branch A of the Apple Drain. So the recommendation is that we give first, second, and third and final reading to bylaw 13, 14, and 15, and third and final reading to bylaw 75, 2020, this 22nd day of February, and the mayor and clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign same and affix the corporate seal. Mover and seconder for those readings, Councillor Rose. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Marshall. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. All right, the announcements are there. Next meeting, March the 1st, regular council meeting again on the 15th, and then the next regular meeting after that will be April the 6th. Any notices of motion? None that anybody made me aware of. Other business, and I believe Mike has something under other business, and Tina has something under other business. Mike, I'll let you go first.
Just a question about, it was my understanding when the fire hall went into service that the siren also was gonna. Could we have an update on that?
Jeff will speak to that.
So yes, Councillor Tam, council had entertained the prospect of the fire siren, and the fire siren has been placed in the tower. But when council entertained this last, it was recommended that a report be brought back to council with the options for deciding whether or not we would bring the siren into use. So it's certainly stored in the tower, and we can ask Chief Hunter to bring back a report to council for consideration about whether or not we would bring it back into full or some kind of modified use.
Councillor Tam again.
There was a motion that it was gonna be in service, I believe, that I made, probably 3 years ago. So I'd like to see if we can pull that up.
And certainly through you, Mayor McKenzie, we can check on the motion. My recall, and I had this conversation with the mayor about a week or two ago, and I think we were both on the same page that we thought we were going to revisit it. And I think Chief Hunter actually mentioned that. But either way, we'll get you the details. We'll bring a report back to you. I know we're focusing on buttoning up things with the fire hall, and that's one of the next steps.
Thank you.
Councillor Trinkowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess related to fire protection services, I had a query from a ratepayer asking about the procedure for snow removal around the fire hydrants. It was noted that there was a message posted on Facebook by, I think individually by one of the members of the fire department, showing an illustration of asking private citizens to remove snow around fire hydrants. So if Chief Hunter is here, but I realize that it might also involve Mike Kramer's department. Like what, I guess my question is, what's our plan or procedure amongst the municipal staff on how we deal with removing the snow around the fire hydrants?
Chief Hunter is here. There he is. Bill, I'll let you take a stab at that one.
Sure, yeah. Fire hydrants are a municipal responsibility. We own them, so we have to maintain them, which would include keeping the snow away from them so that they're able to be used. Every year, we typically put a message out on social media asking for residents to adopt a hydrant or try and take care of the snow from around them. But it's certainly being asked more as a favor. We certainly don't expect residents to do that. Actually, on Saturday, 19 of the firefighters went out for approximately 3 hours around Mitchell and cleared snow from numerous fire hydrants. But bottom line is, it is a municipal responsibility.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Deputy Mayor Wright.
I know a lot of people who do it because if the backhoe drives over their lawn, they don't like it. So like a lot of people do that as an appreciation to the municipality of West Perth. And I know they just put it up there so they can get a head start if they don't drive the backhoe on the lawn if it's already done. And I think it's a great community service that the people do to keep them clean.
So noted. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Marshall.
Actually, another snow removal issue, and just I saw it myself, and I had a couple people mention it to me. I guess it was, I want to say last Wednesday or last Thursday, 8:30. The sidewalk plow was clearing the sidewalk down was Frank Street, right in front of the high school and in the public school while the kids were walking to school. So certainly causing a bit of a safety issue. I don't think I've seen it happen before, but it was certainly could have been a bit of a mess. So I had wanted to mention that.
And that has been mentioned, and you're right, Jeff, when you say that you didn't think it had happened before, and it doesn't happen very often, but when we have a breakdown or a mishap occurs, sometimes you can get detained, and that's exactly what happened that day. They had a bit of a mishap with the sidewalk blower, so yeah, so noted, and I think staff usually try to have that done before there's any kids there, so.
My only comment is if they're not there, or if it's not done kind of before they start walking, it's better to wait till they're done than to be doing it while the kids are the majority of those kids are going up and down there for the schools, right? It could have not that I expected something to happen, but potentials are.
Yeah, no, well, I think you make a good point, and we'll certainly make Public Works on note of your comments. Anything else under other business? Okay, correspondence, there's 2 items there. I want to speak to the one. The first one, as a matter of fact, and I get this question probably on a weekly basis, and it's with regards to housing, and they talk about affordable, we talk about attainable, and you know, seniors housing, and if you go back in time, certainly the apartment buildings beside the town hall at one time, those 3 apartment buildings were all apartments for seniors, and the province in their wisdom, I'm not sure just at what point in time, but there was a change and it went to Stratford Housing, and I think at that time they said that you couldn't regulate just for seniors, it had to be opened up, and you kind of lost track of what goes on there. Anyways, the request is there, and I understand that there is some funding available federally, and I would maybe like some direction that we could ask staff to contact John Nader and inquire as to what type of funding would be available for something like that, for some type of affordable seniors housing. And I do realize that potentially the Ritz will be doing some as well, but I understood that there was a program that was coming out, and I'm surprised that they haven't done it with interest rates as low as what they are now, that they couldn't tie in some low interest type of a mortgage similar to what CMHC had a number of years ago when the Manor apartments were built. So I would just look for maybe a motion that we support that and see if we can get some information on that.
I'll make that.
Okay, moved by Sherry. Do we have a second for that motion? Dean, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Doug?
I'll sporadically speak to that. So at our Affordable Housing Committee meeting last Wednesday night, yes, you're right, CMHAC has programs in place right now. We had the North Perth talk about it, about their programs. And then we brought up the name of Jeff Laux from St. Mary's, who does it in small towns. Right now they're doing one in St. Mary's. He has a bit of an inside track to get the government money. He's done several in St. Mary's. Bob and Jim were both, Bob Wilhelm and Jim Aitchison were both familiar when I brought his name up. What he does is he has a way to get the money. He has to have certain criteria in place. My biggest concern is on the next thing where it says some people's rents have doubled, and that's against the law under the Rent Control Act. So if she has anybody who the landlord has doubled the rent, that can't possibly happen. And she should report them.
Yeah, you're right, and we had that discussion the other day about the houses that are TAMs owned and how they were caught with the rent review. They're caught that they can only increase them a certain amount. Yep. And over a long period of time, you get behind. So I think, yeah, I've got a mover, and I think I had a second. Yeah, seconded that we just get some information and come back here. You know, we're not in the business of doing apartment buildings or housing and like that, but if we get the information, you know, like we can pass it along to a developer or whatever, and you know, we need a developer, and we also need some land that they could do it, or a building that they could you know, renovate or whatever and turn it into that. But certainly, you know, I think you can, if it's privately owned, you can have it that it's typically seniors, because you can allow whoever in you want, and if you want the seniors in there, you can do that. But public is a little different, I do believe. So, okay, we didn't vote on that. Is everybody? Oh, sorry, Murray, you had a question? Go ahead.
Yes. It's back to those buildings beside the new fire hall. Did Mitchell, the town of Mitchell, own them at one time or not?
No, actually, the province owned them. It was the province that owned them at that time, and that's going back. I'm going to say late '60s, early '70s. That program was in there, and as I said, after that, and I'm not sure if it was in Mike Harris's time or if it was before that. that there was a swap and the province gave the upper tier or whoever the apartment buildings for social housing. And in Perth, we don't look after social services. It's the city that does that for Perth County. So that's how that became the city of Stratford's social housing apartments. So that's where we're at. But yeah, it would be nice if we, you know, as that letter said, and you know, and as I said before, like I get that comment almost once a week, and you know, it's just the way it is. So, and we're not alone in that. It's the same all over the province, I think, and certainly all over the county. So moved and seconded. Is everybody in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Good, thank you, thank you. Okay, we need a motion to go into closed session, and then we're gonna take about a 5-minute break if you wanna stretch and do whatever needs to happen and come back here in about 5 minutes. So first of all, I do need a motion to go into closed session, and the wording is that we proceed into closed session at 8:53 for the purpose of addressing a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board regarding the request from West Perth Village proposed agreement, the receiving of advice that is subject to a solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding the request from West Perth Village and proposed agreement. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Matheson. All those in favor? That is carried. So we'll be back here, let's see, 8:55. How's that? 5 to 9. Have to wait a minute or two to stream live, maybe, or not? Yes.
Yeah, just another minute, just to be sure, would be good.
Thanks, and good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Okay, well, they'll be in here.
Sorry, you're good.
You're good, Mayor McKenzie.
Okay, all right. So action from coming out of closed session, and I do have a resolution here. And the resolution reads as follows, that Council for Municipality of West Perth hereby acknowledges the request from Ritz Lutheran Villa for the municipality as a guarantor of West Perth Village project to increase the cost overrun agreement from $1,814,488 to $2,014,247 and provide a loan of $1,647,000 for a term of 18 months to cover the equity gap in the West Perth Village project. And looking here to see where we had the interest, but it's going to be at prime, which is 2.45%. The council hereby amends bylaw 50. 2020 and bylaw 51, 2020 to increase the guarantee amount from $1,814,488 to $2,014,247, and that the municipality provide a loan of Ritz Villa of $1,647,000 with interest at 2.45% per annum, which is prime, to bridge the equity gap for the West Perth Village project, and that the financial support provided by West Perth be subject to a lending agreement or lending agreements to be registered on title of the subject property, and that the mayor and clerk be hereby authorized to enter into the necessary agreements and any other related documentation to fulfill the request, subject to the content of such agreement being satisfactory to the chief administrator officer and municipal solicitor. So that's the resolution. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Dean, seconded by Marie Rose. Any questions or concerns about what's going on here? Okay. Question. Terry's got a concern. We better listen to it.
I do. They were requesting 1,647,893 in their PowerPoint.
Okay, so we can just amend.
So I was just a little concerned about that with the motion and what we're taking out of the reserves and so on.
Okay. So we should,
I'm not sure whether, yeah.
Just amend it to 1,647,893.
oh, so we just add the 893 on
Just
the
add
end.
the 893.
Okay, so it goes to 893 on the end. So I'll just read that paragraph then, that the municipality provide a loan to the Ritz Villa of $1,647,893 with interest at 2.45 per annum to bridge the equity gap for the West Perth Village project. Okay, so mover and seconder, I had Dean and Murray, I believe, seconded that. Any further questions or comments? Okay, you ready for the motion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Okay, that is carried. Thank you. All right. Now, gotta find my agenda again. I think we're on the home stretch. I believe that all we have to do is the confirmatory bylaw. So a motion that to confirm the proceedings of council for the Corporation Municipality of West Perth for this meeting dated February 22nd. Got a move and second for that? Moved by Murray, or second, Murray, moved by Mike, sorry, and seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn at 9:56. Moved by Murray Rose, seconded by Jeff Marshall. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. Very